Good evening and welcome to KMTV News, a roundup of the biggest headlines creating Kent's news agenda. I'm Gabriel Morris and here are your top stories on Friday, the 21st of October. Do you back Boris? Kent MP says he would give up for Tory whip if Boris Johnson won race to replace Liz Truss as Prime Minister. Blean's bouncing baby Bison born. Canterbury's cute calf causes commotion. On the air for you, KMFM celebrates Local Radio Day. But first tonight, Kent MPs are starting to throw their ballots behind potential candidates to replace Liz Truss as Prime Minister. Penny Mordaunt is the first to confirm herself as a candidate, while it is likely Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak will also run to be the next Conservative leader. But one Kent MP says he would resign for Conservative whip if Johnson were to return to office. Well, Jadzia Samuel has our top story tonight.
One Kent MP has said he would quit the Conservative Party if Boris Johnson were to replace Liz Truss as Prime Minister. It comes just a day after the current PM announced her resignation after less than 6 weeks in the job. While Boris Johnson has not yet confirmed whether he'll be running in the leadership campaign, his supporters have said he is a potential runner. Veteran Tory and North Thanet MP Sir Roger Gale tweeted saying there should be no possibility of him returning to government.
I think Boris Johnson would be divisive. He'd be an absolute disaster. He's still under investigation by the Privileges Committee for potentially misleading the House of Commons, and that in itself is a terminal offence. I cannot see any justification for him standing at all, particularly until, if possible, his name is cleared. He would not be considered, in my view, fit to hold government office again. I'm not going to, at this stage, suggest who definitely will, but the options are fairly clear. Rishi Sunak, of course, came second to Mrs. Truss. Penny Mordaunt came third in the member's ballot. The Member of Parliament's ballot is a very strong candidate indeed.
Tunbridge and Malling MP Tom Tugendhat has confirmed he will not be putting himself forward, despite running to replace Boris Johnson back in July. Other Kent MPs are starting to throw their ballots behind potential candidates. And unconfirmed reports suggest that Rochester MP Kelly Tolhurst and Dartford MP Gareth Johnson would back the ex-leader. When we contacted their offices, neither MP confirmed or denied the rumours.
Who's your money on for PM, Mr. Collins? Penny, thank you.
In this video circulating on Twitter, the MP for Folkestone and Hythe suggested he would back Penny Mordaunt, the first to officially declare her candidacy. Former Chancellor Rishi Sunak has already received public backing from Rainham and Gillingham's Raymond Chisty, Faversham and Mid-Kent's Helen Whately and Sevenoaks' Laura Trott. MPs Gordon Henderson and Damien Green told us they will not be making any public comments on the matter, and others remain tight-lipped. This most recent leadership election is expected to be completed by the end of next week.
Nominations to be the next Conservative leader will close on Monday at 2 p.m. Candidates need the support of at least 100 fellow Tory MPs, and with 357 currently in Parliament, this will see a maximum of 3 candidates. And if we do see 3, the one with the fewest votes will be eliminated.
Then Conservative MPs and party members will have the chance to vote for the remaining 2, with the winner becoming the next PM. But as to whom our MPs here in Kent will be backing, many questions remain unanswered. Jadzia Samuel for KMTV.
Well, next tonight, Tonbridge Angels FC says it has turned down sponsorship offers from multiple betting firms. The football teams have committed to a campaign aimed at banning gambling advertising from the sport. It comes as the Safer Betting Week initiative is coming to a close, aimed at getting people talking about ways to make gambling safer. Well, Bartholomew Hall has been to find out more.
Let's talk about safer gambling. That's the motto of this year's Safer Gambling Week. Hoping to tackle the issue of gambling head-on, 2 Kent football clubs have joined a campaign to ban betting advertising across the sport. Maidstone United became the first National League club to join the Big Step in September, whilst Tonbridge Angels pledged to the cause in the summer. Ross Bennett used to work in the gambling industry, tackling issues of crime. He told me that he saw firsthand how gambling can be a force for good, as well as a source of negativity within many people's lives.
As a club, Tunbridge Angels Football Club is not against gambling per se. We do not take a stand against the industry, and we absolutely believe, and I couldn't sit here myself and say that I don't believe that gambling has a place in our society. It's an industry that obviously I've been very, very involved in personally in the past. What we're saying is that we don't see the need for gambling and gambling-related advertising or sponsorship to be involved in football at this level, which is why we've signed up with the Gambling with Lives campaign to try and remove the influence of gambling in football at the grassroots, at the non-league level.
Betting shops like this one here in Tonbridge are a familiar sight on high streets across the county. You may have noticed that this week some have decided to swap out their usual advertising with messages from the Safer Gambling Week initiative. The initiative, led by the licensed gambling industry itself, is spending the week focused on getting people talking about how to gamble safer and how to seek help. Beyond monetary issues, the NHS says that compulsive gambling can harm both relationships and one's health. As of March this year, almost half of Brits say they have gambled at least once. The figures are higher for men, with 45% saying they've gambled in a 4-week period, compared to 42% of women. However, Ian Semmel from the Kent-based gambling support charity Break Even says the issue of gambling addiction isn't affected by gender.
Gambling has no bias. It comes to get anybody. Doesn't matter what creed, what colour, whether you're rich, poor, in the middle of the road. Gambling affects everybody and is available to everybody. People don't talk about it enough. So we want to do prevention as much as abstention. But we want to start the conversation early and be preventative as well. And hopefully weeks like this help bring that to the forefront.
Now, as Safer Gambling Week draws to a close, it's hoped that its messages will last beyond it. The National Gambling Helpline is 0808 8020 133, whilst information to reach Break Even in Kent is on screen now. Bartholomew Hall for KMTV.
Next tonight, celebrating for sound. That's the theme of this year's National Local Radio Day, which is celebrating its 7th annual year here in Kent. Originally created in 2015, Local Radio Day brings together local stations on a national level and helps to showcase the work done to connect communities and provide a familiar voice to local people. We've been chatting to Rob Willis from our sister station KMFM about what local radio means to him.
For me, local radio can provide things that, national radio stations can't. So be that travel, be that the day that the kids are not sure whether they're going to school or not because there's snow day on, be that during COVID where people were working away on their own and we were able to provide some companionship during that time. I think, local radio is just different to different people. Some people are just there for the music. Some people are there for the banter. Some people are there because, it makes them feel like home. And I think that's the main reason for it. I think local radio, the fact it's been around forever and it's evolved and changed over the years, I think it's a great thing to celebrate. And as I say, people will see local as different. Some people will see it as their local community station, which is cool. Some people will see it as KMFM. Some people will see it as other things. We are genuinely one of the last groups of truly independently, locally owned radio stations. You could probably count them on both sets of hands how many are left doing truly local radio where we are talking to local people. They are Kent people winning our prizes. When you hear somebody call up on the travel, that is because Steve or Sarah are stuck on the M20. They are stuck on the M2. And I think that makes it special.
Now let's take a quick look at the weather. It's going to be a wet and rainy night tonight. Lows of 14 and highs of 17 near Folkestone and Dover. Tomorrow morning we can expect some cloud and highs of 16. And by Saturday afternoon we can expect cloud to spread across the county with highs of 17. Then the start of next week looks like this: some sun and some rain and highs of 18 on Sunday. And finally, Kent has welcomed a baby bison. The unexpected birth of a female calf adds to the herd living in West Blean and Fordon Woods in Canterbury. The bison are part of the Wilder Blean project, a wilding initiative to help combat the climate and biodiversity issues. But the rangers didn't expect to find this new addition. Well, we spoke to the Director of Conservation, Paul Hadaway, earlier today.
This is the thing with dealing with what are basically wild animals, is that they conceal their pregnancies. So we saw some signs a little while after the animals had settled in that the one young female appeared to be pregnant, but she's quite young. It's quite unusual, and obviously it's not something we'd expected this early on in the project. So it's a fantastic bit of news, but took us all a little bit by surprise. We're much less close to the animals than we were getting before, where we were checking how they were settling in, everything else. We've had to allow that herd to kind of reform and accept the youngster in, so that can be quite a tough time, and you have to be really careful that you're not disturbing the youngster or that the animal's not reacting badly to us being present. So we've been much more hands-off, much further back in our kind of viewing of them and things like that, and just checking that she's all right and that she's kind of getting herself set up well. For a species like bison that have been endangered for a century now and have been progressively recovering, obviously it's good news for them as a species. For us, this is the first female born into the wild who will get to understand Blean Woods as her home with no other kind of frame of reference. So how she understands the wood and uses the wood and how she moulds with the herd is going to be amazing. And then with our German bull that's arriving within the next couple of months, hopefully this is just the beginnings of a bigger herd.
Well, that's it from us this evening on KMTV, but it's been a busy week in politics, so why don't you check out our Kent Politics show by visiting our website, kmtv.co.uk. That's all from me. Goodbye.